Hello again. Welcome to Enchantment of Eternities. I'm in the correct video this time, doing a live watch along of The Force Awakens. Thanks so much for everyone for joining. Colonel Doomsday, surprised to see you. Said you wouldn't be able to make it, but whatever, you're here. Anyway, sort of not going to repeat everything we said before, but just to give you a rundown, if you're just watching this video in the archives or whatnot, we are going to watch Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. And so we're going to watch along, so it's not going to appear on screen, of course, but we're going to watch it while we talk, so we'll let you know when we're going to start it so you can start your own copy of The Force Awakens and watch along with us as we just babble on and talk through the whole thing and ruin the movie for you. Anyway, I'm joined here, of course, by Darrin from D's Reviews. Darrin, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. Really looking forward to this watch along. I've been highly expecting it. It's been a while since I've watched the movie, so it'll be fun to revisit Monkey Pilot Buddy and all.
All right, so we are running a bit late, so we might end up going late, but whatever. We'll go for the length of the movie. So I guess really quick again, kind of to repeat what we already said in the other video, just overall thoughts of Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens.
I'm a big fan. I really enjoyed the show. I know it leans in a bit to A New Hope. I mean, I think a lot of that criticism is valid, but I do think we had some great new characters. We had some great new blood kind of pushed into the show, and I think it was a better revisit to kind of the classic trilogy than, personally, in my opinion, the prequels sort of carried. In addition, my daughter was 9 at the time, so she was kind of the perfect age to watch Rey and be inspired, and so it really added a whole new level, kind of re-experiencing the Star Wars universe with some new eyes.
Absolutely. And as for myself, as I was saying before, I'm probably not as big on Episode 7 as Darrin is or some other people. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. But I do think it borrows way too heavily from A New Hope to me. Like, it's not the exact same movie. There's different characters, different situations. But like, when I did the review for this, I was able to describe The Force Awakens and A New Hope at the same time, and I went into way more details than I should have been able to go into. Which does so. Actually, this may annoy some people, but I actually prefer The Last Jedi to this one because at least that took risks, where this a lot of people said about this one that it played it safe, and I think that's actually the best way to describe this one.
Sure. Okay. Again, I think that's fair. It's it's a fair criticism of the film, but played it safe but still fun. I'm always up for a good popcorn ride, and I think that's what we got with this.
Yeah, and to be fair, by playing it safe, it didn't piss as many people off as The Last Jedi did. So you do have to give it some credit for that one.
Very true. Very true.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started since we're running late here. So I guess I'll give you the countdown. I'll count from 3, 2, 1, go, and on go, that's when you want to push play on your various device or whatever. Okay.
Now there's usually, at least with mine, some sort of like little loading moment.
Oh, is there?
So
you might want to press play and then pause it.
I've got it preset, so as soon as I press, the Lucasfilms logo will pop up. So that's the start point that we're saying. Okay, good. So we can all sync our watches up.
So start it so it loads or whatever, then pause it, and then when I say press play, and we should be pretty much, as long as it's in the same generator, someone's always going to be behind or not, especially if you're watching. I think we're both watching it on Disney Plus, so we should be pretty in sync, but sometimes if you're watching it on a different device or DVD or whatever, sometimes they move at different rates and you get out of sync, but we'll just have to deal with that if that happens.
Right. I think that should be fair. If we seem we're a little off, that can just do an adjustment. By the way, I am playing from a DVD.
DVD. Okay.
Just because I didn't want to risk overloading my data here and getting hiccups and things like that.
Right. Well, that could happen to me. Maybe I'll get out of sync. We'll see how it goes.
The doom of buffering. Okay, ready.
Okay, so ready for the countdown. We go. Hold on, let me get it. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty. That was a bit slow. I might be a bit behind. All right.
Long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Also,
we are going to start this stream. I'm not quoting the movie. Okay.
Also, I have usually when I used to do this in New Zealand, I used to have 2 monitors. Now I just have one, so I'm not going to see what I look like. I'm just watching the movie. So if I have something on my face, just let me know.
Going to try and catch all of this. Okay, we get our nice episode crawl here. Which, again, after waiting a while to see Luke Skywalker and everybody, the original cast on, seeing The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker is vanished.
All right, hold on. I want to talk about something right here.
Okay.
This what the scroll brings up, and it's one of the main issues I had with this movie, is that it's basically just repeating the same main storyline of the original trilogy, except they have the Empire is now called the New Order and the Rebels are now called the Resistance. And to me, that's just like the whole premise there kind of loses me.
Sure. It is. Look,
because
we
after
are
all
copying
they
A New Hope in many ways. It totally is. Totally is.
But I mean, not just that though, because after all they accomplished in the original trilogy, that 30 years later, how long the galaxy just ends up in the exact same place it was before. That seems kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of nihilistic.
Well, also considering for all of us that had spent so many years reading all of the novels to now be like, oh yeah, all that storyline out the window. It kind of hurt. All right, and we get, of course, the planet, the ship, the classic Star Wars opening.
See, I don't mind this. This is a motif they do in every film. I think it works.
Well, that's nice. You get to see the light covered up and the ships come out from the corner. It's actually it's a really pretty shot.
Well, this is definitely the best looking Star Wars film, because the prequels overdid it with the early 2000 CGI, and it's not very good looking, and the original ones is a bit outdated. So this is definitely the best looking one.
Sure. First shot of BB-8.
To be clear, even when the prequels first came out, they didn't look good.
That is
outdated. They never looked good.
That is true.
Although Revengeance is somewhat good, but it is outdated.
Now, I remember when we first saw this, so many people were like, who is this? Is this old Boba Fett? It was such a clamor to get Boba Fett back into everything.
Oh, God. I kind of stayed away from all the theories and all this crazy stuff, and especially the trailer stuff. I think I watched one trailer and that was it. I didn't pay any attention to anything before I saw the movie. I wanted to come in completely fresh.
That's the best way to do it, to be perfectly honest. I think trailers give away too much.
I think with The Last Jedi, I didn't even watch the trailer. I just went in completely fresh.
All right, chips coming in. Da, 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 da. And to be honest, I didn't know much about Oscar Isaac here. So this, to me, this is kind of a new character.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've sort of recognized him from here or there.
Do you mean the actor? You didn't know the actor? Yeah, right. I didn't know him at all. This is the first time I've ever seen him. Was this before he did Ex Machina, or was this after? I can't remember.
I think Ex Machina was before this. I think
that movie's overrated, but that's another issue.
All right.
Oh wait, I have the wrong chat up. Hold on, I have to get the chat up in the correct video.
All right, so we got Poe getting into the X-wing that's like right there. I don't know how that ship wasn't blasted already, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, and I guess I'll probably talk about this more next week to The Last Jedi, is a lot of people have a lot of technical issues. I think Last Jedi probably more so than this one. And I don't care. I never mind about the technical issues or how things work. I'm always willing to just hand wave that away. I mean, I'm a Star Trek fan, so I'm used to
it. Sure. But again, it's still a beautiful, just, we're showing the evil, the First Order, Empire, First Order. It's still a rousing opening sequence. And BB-8 here was just instantly to fall in love with. He was totally adorable. And different from R2. I think that was one of the other cool things, is this was an interesting new style of droid.
All right, finally got the chat up.
And of course, we must mark our hero so we can tell him the difference between.
I thought that was a good device, actually.
It really was. Yeah. It really was. It was honest. It gives a compassion moment. And yeah, it definitely differentiates him instantly.
It does show, like, also having them. It's actually kind of good writing in a way, because having it differentiates his character, that death has affected him in such a way.
Sure. And again, without dialogue, we don't get the stormtrooper like, "Oh, my buddy F2940." I can never remember Finn's actual number. I mean, you didn't need anything there. That was a nice bit of telling stories simply.
You see the honest trailer where they mentioned Finn said his name. They're like, "Hey, that's my PIN number." But Shy Neck Chicken. Is that in the chat? China Chicken, of course. In the chat saying, I thought Finn was force sensitive here. There was a lot of discussion about Finn being force sensitive. And I think ultimately they abandoned that. So, he used the lightsaber once, but that's really all we saw of it.
Sure. Our new Darth Vader.
I mean, yeah, it only annoys me very slightly, the fact that, because I think I like Kylo Ren. I think he's one of the best part of these movies.
Sure.
Because he's a more developed character. Some people complain he's just an emo, emotional emo teenager, bratty kid, but I think his story arc actually is, I'd rather see well-developed villains.
Yeah. No. The only problem that I have with him later on is his hair should not be looking that good underneath that helmet.
And how he freezes. Yeah, he freezes the lightning things. I think some fans were complaining about that, but that's awesome.
No, it's something new we haven't seen, and it instantly makes him dangerous.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's a perfect visual cue, and yeah, Force doesn't work that way. How do you know how the Force works, man?
Stopping the blast boat should have been used more. I don't know if they should overdo it, though. I think doing it the once is probably... I mean, if they did it maybe once or twice, but if they did it all the time, it would get a bit gimmicky, I think.
Well, and I think there's a great thing because it's a singular shot. It makes sense. If it was something that, multiple shots and he could sort of freeze, that might start being like a little OP'd. But I think they use it, like you said, sparingly and perfectly here, just to make a point.
Oh, are we going to talk about the Chrome Trooper?
Yeah, sure. Phasma.
A lot of people had issues with her that she didn't do much, but see, I didn't have watching the preamble, reading the novels or anything like that. I just saw her as your typical henchman character. And as your typical henchman character, it plays out exactly as it would in any film. Like every bad guy has their number one henchman that's just there to look menacing and doesn't actually do much. And that's what all I expected out of her. So I wasn't really disappointed about it.
Well, yeah, and it's another one of those where it's like, we don't know if there's an expected lore behind a character, because it looks different, or it's just a henchman. maybe they're just going to see, what does the audience, do they like this character? Or do they not like it? Do we develop or do we not develop? There's a lot of that they do in this one, of like setting up potential storylines and arcs and characters.
I don't know. The way I saw her is that she was always, as far as the script of this movie goes, she was always intended to just be your stereotypical henchman character. I think the problem is a lot of the publication, whatchamacallit, the marketing around the film was pushing her as this big badass, and they had a book all about her or something. I think that's
Right.
what got people's expectations up way too high, and so when the film she's just a henchman, it's disappointing.
Yeah, for sure, because you keep expecting something to develop and it just does not.
Yeah. And she just happened to be Brienne in the Mask. Yeah, a lot of people were wanting, Game of Thrones fans seeing Brienne of Tarth, wanted to see more out of her.
Sure. But there's something about playing in a mask that I think is underrated.
Absolutely.
I think a lot can be done with tone, with voice, with body language for telling a story.
And it's a brave actor, too, who is willing to not let their face be seen. Because most actors would be too vain to do that.
Yeah. By the way, John Boyega here, another person I was super excited to see.
Have you heard of him before this film? I have.
Attack the Block he was in.
Oh, I never saw
which
that.
is a low-budget British sci-fi film.
Oh, is it British? Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
And sorry, we talk over Rey's here. Introduction, covered up, masked.
I still think Rey is a bit of an underdeveloped character. And I can kind of understand why there's this huge backlash of people saying she's a Mary Sue. But I don't want to get into all that because that has, sexist implications or whatever. And people argue it's not sexist, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But the point is, I don't think that, but I do think that she is a bit underdeveloped. I think they could have done a better job developing her, particularly in this film.
Sure. I think they wanted to play up the mystery, and that's something J.J. Abrams does. We just finished Lost, which he sort of had set up, and I think he's very good at setting up mysteries.
Well, a lot of people bring up Lost when it comes to Abrams, but really he only was involved in the first season, the first part of the first season. Then he kind of just dropped off and was just like the money man producer.
Sure. But even that with Locke, he was just, I think his statement after the one was like, he has a secret. It's like that's sort of his setups for things. And then they sort of.
Yeah. He's infamous for giving this TED talk where he talks about a mystery box.
Right.
And that's definitely a huge component of Lost.
China Chicken in the chat saying, I do like Rey's intro. Yeah, I have to agree. This really says while you say the characters could use some more development, to me, this is a great way of just showing where this character is, where they're from, what they do.
That's a cool shot with the Star Destroyer.
Oh, yeah. And again, really leaning back into the history and lore of Star Wars.
China Chicken says the music is great. Yeah, always. They're getting John Williams to the score for this, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I think someone has to fact check us on that one. Was it Michael Giacchino who did it? Now I'm going to have to look this up. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, you'll have to check that up there.
Because I know Michael Giacchino does a lot of the Bad Robot music.
And Daisy Ridley is great. She's got that just perfect, cherubic, innocent face that she can actually twist into real stern determination. I think she does a lot with her face in this. A lot of very close acting character work.
Have you seen her in anything else?
I have not.
Yeah, she was in that one. What's it called? The train movie?
Yeah, the Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah,
I saw like a brief moment of that, but I didn't end up really getting into that.
Yeah, I never watched it. I haven't heard of her being in anything else. I'm sure she was.
Oh yeah. You know me, if it doesn't have superheroes or blasters, I'm not watching it. And Mystery Bread. That was really cool to see. That's to just add the water and then just turns into like a loaf of bread. It's a
Reminds
small
me.
thing.
It reminds me of Waterworld when Kevin Costner turned his pee into water.
But not quite as disgusting as that.
No.
But look at this. I mean, we have great vista shots. I mean, really a big love letter here to the early Tatooine shots.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I looked it up. It is John Williams did the music.
Okay. Excellent. All right. And she moves into badass mode as she hears something over the rise. And
what the hell is that?
Obviously some relationship here. Never really understood what it... If it's not so much of just establishing that she's multilingual, like she can speak both droid and whatever this creature that she has a certain... obviously she has a certain presence to be able to tell this thing to like let it go and get out of here.
Yeah, Cardinal Doomsday knew John Williams did before I did. Oh well, that's okay. Should have checked in with you. I know he didn't. Maybe it was Rogue One, the other episodes he didn't do it for. Because I remember there was some Star Wars movies he didn't do it for.
Well, I think with Star Wars, if you're doing a Star Wars movie, if John Williams is alive, you're doing whatever you can to get him into it,
I thought he was, I don't know. I thought I heard he was retired. I got to look up and see if he's doing it for the latest one.
Cute droid with our hero. How can you say no to that droid? Look with the little rolly head. Oh.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I love BB-8. I think BB-8 is the best part of this film.
Oh yeah,
that was my huge takeaway when I came home. Like BB-8 is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was a great way to bring us something other than your R2, your C-3PO that really had its own unique personality and a totally different look that's brand new.
Absolutely. I mean, in some ways, BB-8 is kind of the new version of R2-D2, but I think he's original enough where it doesn't seem like they're just repeating it.
For sure. Force interrogation.
Again, this does a really good job of establishing Kylo Ren as a really intimidating villain.
Well, and a good choice again. That slow, constant pitch of his voice, the very calmness of his speak, especially counter to Poe here, who is lively and bantery and.
See, I mean, and that's why I disagree that the more emotional parts of him, a lot of people said it made him less menacing, that he's just this bratty emo kid. And I disagree. I think he's just as menacing because of scenes like this, but it just adds character to him.
Right. Is she talking to BB-8 or is she talking to herself? Don't give up hope. They'll come back.
Yeah, I don't know. Williams wrote the music for Star Wars The Last Jedi, the 8th episode of the saga released in December, and is presumed to be working on Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Okay, thanks, Carla Doomsday, answering that question for me. Too lazy to look it up myself.
And I gotta say, Simon Pegg has really let himself go here.
I never would have realized that was Simon Pegg unless I read it online.
No.
And when I did, I was like, are you serious? 60 portions.
Meanwhile, he's underneath there going, I'm in a Star Wars movie. I'm in a Star Wars movie.
Colonel Doomsday says, I don't like Poe. He's much too flippant. Or I don't like Poe much. He's too flippant. And China Chicken says, yeah, Poe is okay. Yeah, I never got into him. I wasn't crazy about it. I don't actively dislike him, but I never really cared much about him.
I really like the dynamic between Poe and Finn, though.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Personal. Well, again, a personal thing. I like the two of them kind of here together.
Fair enough. See, that's kind of reminiscent, you can say, the time that Luke took his, when he was posing as a stormtrooper and he took his helmet off to rescue Leia and said, I'm here to rescue you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do get a lot of nice kind of callbacks here.
Yeah, I don't know if I call it nice. I think it's relying a bit too heavily on the first movie. I don't know.
Well, small moments like that, I think, can kind of work. It's the larger stuff when you get these Star Killer base, the return.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I mean, that's when you're like, okay, come on.
Yeah, that's definitely much worse. I'll agree there. Getting too interested in the film.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I have to keep talking. You're going to be like, okay, but who puts a chain? What is this? What is the chain? Who locks up their TIE fighters?
That kind of makes sense to me, though. That they would have some sort of lock on it.
Yeah.
You don't buy it, Darrin?
I mean, yeah, but who's going to be stealing one on board the ship? I mean, I could see that it's
just a good precaution to have. You're in a military vessel. You want to have fail-safes.
Yeah, but the other ones look like they're locked in position. You'd have to like unlock and then it could fly out.
Yeah. That would kind of make more sense.
It looks cool, but it's... Colonel Doomsday, it's a matter of opinion between callbacks and copying stuff. Very true.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it's the sheer number of callbacks. When it's this numerous, it becomes more of relying too heavily. Like if other properties that just do it here and there. Like I complain about this in Star Trek Discovery too. They also rely way too heavily on the originals.
Yeah. They're exciting. Ship movements always love. That's the one thing Star Wars always did very well, was ship movements, battles in space. Always nice. And I will give you your name, Finn. Because FN is Finn, and that's as imaginative as I am.
Well, at least it's better than, oh, you're alone, so let's call you Solo.
Oh, that is bad. That is really bad.
Toph in the chat. My feelings on Force Awakens is I like it overall, but I'm probably not as positive as maybe some people.
Yeah.
Because the copying does irritate me a bit that they relies too heavily.
Yeah, I am. Yes, they lean into it, but it's still a fun Star Wars time. Plus, little girl watching Rey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's good put together. I overall will give it a positive rating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think some people liked it more than me, including my brother. I think he liked this one more.
Right. All right.
Yeah, the droid has the secret plans that's so important. I'm sorry.
Because everybody sticks their secret plans and messages inside their droid and sends them out into the desert.
Into the desert.
Secret. Where
they find someone who's force ability who rescues the droid, and so they had the force ability person joins up with. Toph, I haven't watched the movie, but I have harsh criticisms against it. What do you think the movie is failing at? I just think the movie relies too heavily on A New Hope and the original trilogy, and it doesn't go off as much as it should in its own direction. It does have new elements and original elements, which is why I like it. So it's not totally bad, but to my taste, I wish it would relied less on the just copying A New Hope.
But you're right. It plays it a little too safe. It's like we just got to do something new, but let's hit all the same beats.
Yeah, I mean, and as you say, it's kind of understandable after the reception the prequels got.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, honestly, Disney just got the property. They want to do something with it. They want to reignite excitement about it. This is the way you go.
And Colonel Doomsday just saying Star Wars borrows a shitload from Dune. Does it? I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't know. I've read Dune and I saw the movies, and I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest.
I like the film more now than I did when I first saw it. I was not a fan initially. And now, I mean, there's just different appreciations I can put to it from a cinematic standpoint, from character standpoint.
So what are you talking about?
Dune.
What movie? Dune.
Yeah.
The David Lynch film, I thought that was awful. They had a sci-fi miniseries that was actually true to the book that was better, but it had pretty bad acting in it.
Yeah.
No production value.
That's the bummer part. It's hard to get them both together.
Yeah. Did anyone think Poe was dead? Well, no, he couldn't, because we knew from the poster he'd be a main character. He couldn't die this early in the film.
His jacket is still alive, man.
Colonel Doomsday did. Okay. See, having Kylo Ren have that same sort of muffled voice, that seems trying too hard to be like Darth Vader.
Right.
But then they have an in-universe reason for that he's purposely trying to emulate Darth Vader, which can come off as a bit of an excuse. So this is why we have another Darth Vader.
But originally, they also, again, they split it when he takes his mask off halfway through, you know, trying to differentiate, but then there's other things. All right. Finn looking for water. This is one of the nastiest moments
right.
in the film. When he dives into the that's I'm still going in.
Is it that Simon Pegg character hired those guys to steal BB-8 from her?
I think so, yeah.
The 60 portions.
But here we're obviously establishing that Rey can take care of herself nicely.
Which makes sense if she's been living on her own in this rough environment.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think she's resourceful, she's smart, she can talk several different languages. So there is, in some ways, establishing here something more to her character, just because she can do these things. I think it's subtle, but the Force brought them together. Yes, it does.
So why is she chasing him? Does she think he's another guy?
Because BB-8 saw the jacket and was like, hey, that's my master's jacket. Which is why she calls him a thief.
Yeah, it's been several years since I've seen this movie. Force Awakens nor Last Jedi were inventive hardly at all. Star Wars was always about being inventive. I don't know. I don't know if I completely agree with that.
Well, I'd say The Last Jedi was inventive. Just people didn't always necessarily agree with the inventions that they went with. But Force Awakens was able to capture the feel of Star Wars, which I think was important to do, especially just, again, reestablishing the series in a new direction. even if it was very similar direction initially.
Chapter number, please. What are you asking about? Huh? Colonel Doomsday? What does that mean?
Oh, I don't know what chapter. That I'm at 29 minutes and 30 seconds now.
Oh, you're talking about the movie. Oh, right.
That's all that I can give you.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. 29, 37, 38.
Yeah, we're on the right. We should be synced right up then, Mark. You and I.
Okay.
And hopefully everyone else at home.
So go to the 30-minute mark, Colonel Doomsday, or anyone watching this. You'll be roughly around the same place.
All right. And now that our characters have met, they're going to hold hands and run. I do like Raven. Let go of me. Stop holding my hand. All right. And the action begins anew. Which is funny because I think they each think that they're after them for different reasons. They think they're after Finn thinks they're after him because he's an escapee.
Uh-huh.
But they're actually after.
They're after BB-8.
BB-8.
Right? Yeah. Just like in the New Hope when they were after the droids.
China Chicken, he thinks she has to protect her, but she doesn't need it. Exactly. And this is sort of where they're kind of throwing that out with the tropes of holding hands and protecting and stuff. It's a nice, quick turn.
Well, and then I like how she holds her hand out to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think their relationship grows from there, where they start looking out for each other. And that is one thing that disappointed me about The Last Jedi, is that these two characters weren't together, because they spent all this movie sort of developing their relationship. And of course, Finn is like, oh, I've got to go save Rey. So it shows he does still care about it, but we don't actually see them together on screen, which is disappointing.
And the Millennium Falcon is...
Yeah, that's a bit convenient.
Garbage will do.
And the Star Wars music comes up. The original Star Wars music comes up as soon as they show the Millennium Falcon.
It's great. It's worn. It's aged. It's beat up.
It hasn't flown in years, huh?
And yeah, maybe it's a little much like, oh, the Falcon's right there. But come on, from an audience standpoint, that camera pan was like,
oh, yeah. Well, it is a bit too pandering, I think. I remember in the movie theater, everyone was cheering when they panned over to it. But right. I think that is kind of pandering. But I understand why you would want to pander in a movie like this.
Sure. I don't know what these ships are made of to survive, like drags across desert floors like that, but because Simon Pegg always wanted the Millennium Falcon.
See, that I think is bad dialogue. I was just watching my brother's review on the first two prequels, and he was saying how horrible the dialogue is, and I don't disagree with him. But having the Simon Pegg character go and go, "That's mine," I think that's kind of bad dialogue.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's cheesy. It's cheesy for sure. But this is a hell of a fight.
Yeah, it's awesome. Stands. Yeah, this is an awesome fight scene. I will say that. And did they establish her as being a pilot?
Yes, they're running there. Finn says, we need a pilot. And she's like, I'm a pilot.
Okay.
And so we're assuming between everything that she's done that she's picked this up. I think we are seeing her really developing and leaning into her instincts.
I mean, but the fact it's a totally different planet, but the fact that they had to make it a desert planet, I mean, come on. That
Yes, I agree, but again, at least it's not Tatooine. There's no reason to ever go back to that place. It's way overused location.
But it evokes Tatooine too much.
Sure, exactly. But with the crashed Star Destroyers around, I mean,
that's awesome, though.
That's really cool looking. Cardinal Doomsday, considering they retired the Enterprise A after 20 years, the Falcon sure stands up well, don't you think? Yes, yes, she does.
I mean, there's dust, so that's their excuse. And some of the things were a bit like creaky, and that's it.
Sure, yeah.
That's their excuse, though. It should be a lot worse than that, though.
So I'm guessing the upper cannon isn't working, or he didn't even think to look for it. That's all right. I'm not critiquing. I just thought of that literally right now.
Didn't they just shoot it?
No, they shot the under cannon.
Oh,
okay. Remember, there's two. That was the whole Han Solo, Luke Skywalker afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, and this is just like, the Millennium Falcon flying in the thing. This is just like when it flew in the Death Star and Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's definite, but it looks cool.
I played that video game in the arcade all the time when I was 6. Yeah, I don't know. This fight scene started out good. I'm a bit bored with it now. Colonel Doomsday says the economy went to shit on Tatooine after the huts were destroyed. I don't know if that was ever established.
Yeah, see, that's... All right. Okay, great character stuff right here. But I think this is where we start to run into some issue, some of the issues to me in the film. Well, not yet. Again, the work between all of them is awesome.
China Chicken says the Battle of Jakku is where the war ended between the Empire and the Rebels. Is that in some like bonus material or something?
It is. It's in one of the establishments when there was like a book or something before Force Awakens came out, when they were reestablishing the new canon.
This is probably my biggest gripe about this film, and when I did my review, I was yelling about this, is that this film's not self-contained as far as the backstory of the Resistance and the New Order. It doesn't make any sense. You need to read books or comic books in order to understand it, which I think is bullshit. The original Star Wars trilogy, you understand the relationship between the Rebels and the Empire from watching that one film. You shouldn't have to read books or bonus materials or any of that bullshit to understand what's going on. And from watching this movie, I had no idea. Why do they call the Resistance if the New Order? Shouldn't that be the Resistance? But like the bonus material explains this, but that's bullshit because it should be explained here. Talking over Kylo Ren having his little hissy fit.
Yeah, that's how I express myself. Droid thing. Right. So, do you need more monitors now, sir?
And I love this how he like chokes that guy just to let off some steam. I mean, that's very Darth Vader like. He did that a lot too.
Yes.
But I think I actually like that scene. A lot of people complained about that he was being too emo or emotional or whatever. But I think it really is good character development.
No. Again, this is all great stuff. This is what really works well in the film, which is why I agree with you. It's a shame that we don't really see the Finn Rey relationship develop more in Last Jedi. But again, we're talking about this film. I think they establish it well. They definitely show a strong connection between the two of them and a trust between all three of these characters pretty well. And pretty
See, that was awesome. I love the BB-8 thumbs up with the lighter. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for that.
Oh, yeah.
See that? snappy relationship reminded of Han Solo and.
Yeah, but it's still new. It's nice. It works well.
I don't know if I call it new.
Okay. This is to me where we start to run into I think the real problem that we got with the sequel trilogy is we lose any sense of scale. Because right now they should still be in Jakku's system. The Star Destroyer should be right there. Where is Han Solo coming from? And why does he ask later on, where was it? On Jakku? You're in Jakku's system right now.
What, did they not jump to light speed?
No, they don't show it. The engine blows, but they should have. And this runs into it throughout this. They lose their sense of scale and time. And that's where the movie, I think, kind of trips over itself. They should have done a jump to light speed and then got pulled out somewhere. If, Han's asking, again, the Han question of where was it on Jakku, if you're tracing the Falcon, wouldn't you have told you're in Jakku and that's why you're in this system? It gets messy when they want to put all these different places together like this. But come on, look at that shot. That is nice.
I gotta be honest, that never really bothered me. I never even noticed that until you just mentioned it.
No, it's one of those little things that get to me. Again, she can understand all languages.
I was just thinking of this interview I saw with Harrison Ford where I thought he was being a total asshole. Like, he doesn't really like Star Wars.
No, he does not. He's a curmudgeon.
He only agreed to be in this movie because they agreed to kill off his character. And so he wouldn't have to do it ever again. But there's an interview where, like, someone, and this guy was kind of dumb for doing this, but he made like a really detailed model scale model of the Millennium Falcon and was showing it off to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford's like, oh, let me take a look at it. So he grabs it, he just slams it on the ground and destroys it. I'm like, what a dickhead. Like, I understand you don't like Star Wars, but that is such a dickhead thing to do.
It is. But we still love him in this role.
And also, whenever any other interview, when anyone asks him about Star Wars, he's like, I don't give a shit.
No, he is the old curmudgeon. It really is. There is a great oh God, I can't remember the magician. Comes and does a thing and makes a message like appeal inside this orange, and his reaction is pretty freaking classy. He's like, "Get the out of my house!" It's just like you broke my brain.
Chan Chicken says Alec Guinness didn't like Star Wars either. Yeah, that's true. He always hated it.
Raptors.
Toast says it seems like none of these guys like the movies at all. No, like I would say Mark Hamill loved it because that's something he's really known for.
Well, I think Carrie Fisher was a big fan. She was always really great with fans and appreciation for what Princess Leia represented at the time.
And also, she was most known for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're exaggerating, Toph. It's all good.
All right, I know you were hiding in the Falcon. Now go hide inside this bigger ship.
Yeah, now, what do you think, Darren? Because a lot of people would name this as the worst scene of the movie with these monster things. What are they called?
Raptors.
Raptors. That's so unoriginal. And they would say this whole scene is unnecessary and just a waste of time.
It kind of is. Honestly, nothing really goes anywhere outside of getting Solo and Chewbacca on the Falcon and the three of them out. The sad thing is we waste some amazing martial artists here.
Oh yes, a lot of people complain about that.
From the Raid. Yes, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I was brain farting right there.
I never seen those movies.
Really, some really intense fights in that. Really, really a good film.
Conja Club, that's what they call. They're just there to look really menacing, and they don't really do anything.
Well, yeah.
I mean, this is very reminiscent of the way he used to treat Jabba the Hutt and people like that. Oh, it's good to see you. I'll have your cargo right here or whatever. I guess it's kind of the point to show that Han Solo is still the way he used to be, but
sure.
I don't know if they need this whole scene for that.
No, it's just, again, it's kind of, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't develop anything. It's just a mid-space action scene with Han Solo being Han Solo. It's fine. I think more is the choice of the feeding styles of the Raptors in a few minutes, of when they choose to eat and when they don't choose to eat.
I mean, to me, this reminds me of Star Trek 2009 when Kirk was on the planet and he gets chased by these monsters. That scene was totally unnecessary, and it was just there to be like, ooh, look at these scary monsters. Sure. I actually think that was worse, though. I will say this isn't quite as bad as that.
No. Again, it's not horrible by any means. It's big, it's scary. We got monsters and stuff. I mean, that's fun. It's just considering everything else, almost every other scene really plays into the overall story.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the overall story. It's just
really doesn't.
Aside. Yeah. It's just be like, oh, here's a scary situation to keep you in suspense. And that's the only point of it.
All right, so Raptors are eating everyone they meet.
Indiana Jones punch. Oh, Cardinal Doomsday says it is worse. Are you saying this is worse than the Star Trek thing? Or are you agreeing with me that Star Trek thing is worse?
Okay, well, that guy just got beaten up.
Oh no, Finn's gonna die. He's not a main character whose name's in the poster.
But I do understand the criticism that's thrown out here. It says, how come all the other guys got eaten or beaten and Finn just gets dragged through? I mean, maybe they're full. They just ate.
It's because they're not main characters, Darrin. So the movie can happen. Cardinal Doomsday says Star Trek is worse. Okay, thank you. I agree with that. Star Trek 2009 is always worse. I hate that movie. But anyway.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is cool. I mean, how often do we actually see Chewie use his crossbow in the original trilogy?
Very true.
I don't think very much. So it's cool because they always talked it up too. So it's cool to actually see him use it.
Interesting to think that Han Solo has never shot that bowcaster before, but we've never seen him, so it does work.
Yeah.
I don't know any novelization that show the years beforehand when Solo was doing his bowcaster studies.
Wasn't there some novel where Chewie died?
Yeah. That was when they introduced the Yuuzhan Vong, I think, New Jedi Order or post-New Jedi Order. That was actually kind of an interesting bit of storyline that they did with that. So it would have been an interesting direction to go in, except that Han Solo or Harrison Ford would rather be dead than play this role. Literally.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is something else.
No, this is very reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back when they're escaping from the monster.
Yeah, but we've never seen anybody try to jump to light speed inside of a ship before.
I guess, but
there's nothing wrong. Star Trek does have very particular rules about gravity wells and stuff. I know. It's not just a moon, it's a death planet.
And then there's Supreme Leader Snoke. He was just a big joke.
Come on, he's big, he's projected, he's menacing.
Giant.
We didn't know at this moment if he was just a giant guy or not.
It's just a rehash of the Emperor. See, but that's kind of the Last Jedi's fault. By just killing him off and giving him no backstory, it just makes him an Emperor ripoff who's pointless. Snoke the joke, says China Kids. That's
sure. Well, again, it's one of those where you're establishing the idea of a character that doesn't necessarily develop in the direction one would expect. The Force Awakens. Roll credits. Sorry.
In the hands of your father, who is me. I am your father.
So I would think that this is implying here, and I think it does play out well, that did you feel the awakening is the Force really manifesting in Rey at this point? So I think it's been subtle throughout her life, but with the combat, having to fight with in the Falcon, learning how to, developing those pilot skills super quick, going after the Raptors. I hope that sort of lit that candle.
I hope Star Wars Episode 9 explains that more, because they never really explained the whole thing about the Force Awakening and what's the deal with Rey, why she all of a sudden have these powers, and why they're awakening in everyone.
Well, I mean, everything else they did show what with Anakin years ago. It naturally established itself, the Force in him originally, as piloting skills. That's how Ben had described him. Your father was a natural pilot.
What? China Chicken says, please show us the Knights of Ren. That's true. Like, the Knights of Ren are played up. Like, I even heard of them. They made a huge deal. Oh my god, the Knights of Ren. Yeah, we never fucking see them.
Yeah. I think those are. I think we will get to see those in Episode 9. I think we've got some shots of them.
Yeah, but I think they kind of should have showed them earlier. Because where the hell were they during the events of these two movies?
They were in the waiting room. Come on, they're staring their phones. Give us the call, man. We're just waiting for the call.
And of course, we get the 3D chessboard for more nostalgia.
Right. There you go. You got to have that.
It's all real. Colonel Tuesday, I'm not even sure what the Knights of Ren are.
Yeah, nobody knows.
But they're like Kylo Ren's like, they're the ones who were studying with him under Luke Skywalker, right? And they all turned to the dark side, and they followed Kylo Ren and became his sort of team, right? If I'm understanding that correctly.
I think that's what they're implying, but honestly, I don't know.
Do we see them in like a flashback or something, don't we, in this film?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that's until Last Jedi.
Last Jedi? Oh, okay. Right. Because I remember I was aware of them before The Last Jedi came out. So they were mentioned.
No. They were brought up. They just weren't developed. Here it is. It's all real. All of it.
Need this for the trailer. They do use lightsabers, though. Yeah, right. The Knights of Ren use lightsabers.
Yeah. Do I need to read a comic to find out? You shouldn't have to.
That's true. You shouldn't have to.
You should not have to have supplementary material in order to understand a movie. That's just a rule, man.
Absolutely.
Now, why are they going here and not taking them directly to the Resistance? Did they ever say? Or it's so we can have a cool bar sequence?
I think they said, but I was just talking over it, so I can't remember.
Or is it just that Han just doesn't want to go there?
I think there was a reason. But I remember there being a reason, but I can't remember what it was.
Somebody else rewind and take a listen. Let's go. We can't do it. We're tied into this stream.
Mr. Solo.
I love this.
I don't know. I think they make Finn a bit too stupid in this moment and this film overall.
Sure.
Kind of annoys me a little bit.
I love the fact that he's like, I know you're lying, and she's going to know you're lying, and you're going to be in trouble when you find out.
Yeah, no.
Such a paternal placement with that of like, you don't even realize the real trouble that you're in. Forget the First Order. The girl that you're into is going to be mad at you because you lied to her.
They don't really imply like a romantic thing between
No, they don't. And I like that about
Yes.
this relationship, to be perfectly honest. I
Absolutely.
like that it's a strength of friendship and it's not romantic. But the fact just to sort of play with those male-female tropes right there. Because it's true, women always find out, and you're always in so much more trouble when they do.
Hold on, I gotta take a quick time out. I'll be right back. I'm gonna keep the movie running, so I'm still in sync.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Sorry, folks, you're all stuck with me just talking all by myself. Cardinal Doomsday Finn is pretty dense. Yes. Yeah. I think they lay into that for the comic relief. He is playing the comic relief basically in this because we don't have a C-3PO. Finn is the worst. Oh no, I can't say that. I like Finn. Like I said, I'm a big John Boyega fan. I was really excited when he was cast in this. Yeah, well, why would they be tracking the Falcon, and how could they track the Falcon, and why? See, that's again, this is one of the small little things. Beautiful opening shots here, though. I mean, really, I love the artwork, the background. They did spend a lot of nice time getting that great used feel with a lot of these sets. Gabriel Knight, he's just as bad as Jar Jar Binks. Ah, Gabriel, that's harsh. And China Chicken, yes, we're in the new cantina. There's Maz with their butt eyes.
Who's just as bad as Jar Jar Binks?
He's saying Finn is. I don't agree with that.
No one can be as bad as Jar Jar Binks. I'm sorry. I know it's very cliche to hate on Jar Jar Binks, but there's a reason. There's a good reason for that. There's a good reason why everyone hates on him. He's horrible. He's one of the worst characters ever invented anywhere. It's a very high bar to be as bad as Jar Jar Binks.
You know, it's an interesting blend to get annoying and racist in the same mix right there, you know.
And the level of annoying is just top tier. Top tier.
Yeah, that's a Song of the South level kind of thing right there. And of course, everybody's got their spies in the bar, so everybody.
No, Cardinal Doomsday. Neelix is not worse than Jar Jar Binks. I'm sorry. Neelix doesn't even come close to being as bad as Jar. Not even the worst episodes. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to disagree with you. Jar Jar Binks is just by far, like no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Neelix has some redeeming qualities. I don't know if I don't agree that Finn's just a token black guy. I think they give him some character.
No, Finn definitely has character. He's the heroic. He's the one that's really breaking from his past here. Yeah, he's not sure what he's doing, but he has that heart in him, and I think that's really the key to Finn's character there. He has it in his heart of wanting to do the right thing, even if he doesn't always know what that is.
Well, and that's the thing, Colonel Doomsday. 7 seasons of Neelix, and half the episodes, I did a whole stream about this. Half the episodes at the end were actually really good and had some good character development. Like Detrell was an amazing episode. Sorry, getting on the Voyager sidetrack here, but I'm sorry. Jar Jar Binks is way, way worse than Neelix. I'm sorry, because you could have 7 seasons of Jar Jar Binks, and he would never be good. He would never be anywhere near as developed or interesting as Neelix. I'm sorry. Misa thinks a Jar Jar Binks sucks. But anyway.
No, there would be riots by episode 2. Okay.
Even if you made him a Sith, that still wouldn't save his character. We'll just have to disagree on this one, Colonel Doomsday.
More talk about the Force, the dark side, the light side.
This character seemed kind of unnecessary. Like, I don't really know what people make a big, Maz Kanata. I don't know who the hell she is. She barely appears in the movie. No. I don't know what her deal is. I don't know why she's so special, why she know all these things. Like, she's underdeveloped, in my opinion. I can't really get behind her.
Well, again, it's something else that we see a lot inside this in this film is there's establishment of these characters with the supposed rich history that's not developed, and then it's like, well, are you going to develop later on or not? Maybe we'll leave it out there. We'll see what we're going to do. I never got the importance of Maz and why she was important outside of them saying that she was. Cardinal Doomsday, why haven't we seen her earlier? Yeah.
Because they just made this character up for this movie. That's why. I mean, it kind of annoys me. Like, they do that. They make you think that there's some unknown backstory. Oh, we'll just introduce this character, and everyone else in the movie will act like there's this huge backstory and they know a lot about them. But I think that's a way to lose your audience. Because the audience feels disconnected because we don't know what the characters know, why they think this is huge backstory.
Right. Tried chicken I like her in this movie, then they only show her 2 seconds in episode 8. Oh no, see, that was a total waste. There was absolutely no need for her in Last Jedi. Again, we won't get into that. That's another movie. But I will agree with you on that.
I don't know. Some people said that this whole cantina sequence was a bit reminiscent of the first New Hope, and I don't think it was too bad, though. I think there's much worse crimes done in this film.
No, again, it's just one of those where you're wondering if it's necessary.
Yes.
I mean, everything in A New Hope, every scene was necessary. It lent to the next scene. It played off of each other. A lot of these are just in locations to show new places and do new things, and that's...
Yeah, there's a reason to go to Mos Eisley. And the reason here is kind of vague. Oh, they want to meet this character whom they know a lot about, but we know nothing about, and this remains underdeveloped. It's not as good.
Right. And again, they could have taken the Millennium Falcon straight to the Resistance if they know where it is. Why are they stopping here? And that was the one thing I
there's a
really
reason.
understood.
I know. I remember there being a reason. I just can't remember what that reason was.
Han didn't want to go to the Resistance, I guess.
All right, Gabriel McKnight, we're going to have to completely disagree with you there. I'm sorry, we respect your opinion, but I think that these two movies are much better than the prequels. Sorry.
But all opinions are respected.
That's right.
Even if they're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
I would say Revenge of the Sith is better than this one, but I know Darrin would totally disagree with me.
And I would, because you're wrong. But like I said, all opinions are acceptable.
I actually loved Revenge of the Sith, but I know how much you hate it, Darrin, so we'll get into that.
That'll be for a different watch along.
Yeah.
All right, now we're getting the call of the lightsaber.
But if you talk about Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, like I don't see how you could possibly say that they're better than this movie. I just don't. It's my personal take on it. Like, I don't know.
I'm gonna mute myself for a moment because I need to have some.
He needs to have some. Oh, he's eating. Okay. Right. Okay, so this is the scary scene where Rey walks into the things and gets some visions that are never explained. This is the J.J. Abrams mystery box thing. This is the we're gonna have some scary, weird shit happen and never really explain it.
It said promises that aren't delivered.
Well, here's the thing, though. I do disagree with the people who say that J.J. Abrams had a specific vision, because he never does. He just introduces shit, mysteries, and just throws it out there. And because he originally didn't think he'd be coming back. Like, he wasn't supposed to do episode 9 originally. So I think his thing was just, he was expecting people to yes and him. Like, I'll just throw all this shit out there. I have no idea how it's resolved or where it's going to go. Other people can figure it out. I'm 100% certain that was his attitude here.
Sure, but it implies certain things to us as the audience that then we expect we're going to see, and when we're not, then we get upset because we're like, but you made this important. Otherwise, you thought that it was important.
But I read an interview with Abrams, and I totally agree that this was his mindset, because he was talking about how he always worked in television. And how he saw this as kind of the way he would treat television, is that
that's where we sort of see the Knights.
Oh, these are Knights of Ren. Yeah,
right here.
They do show up in the vision. I thought they did in this movie, but anyway, and we get this vision, implying her parents are important, but they're not.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Are
they?
We don't know. Visions of the future.
Blah, blah, blah. But no, in this interview I read from Abrams, he said something I totally disagree with, that he looked at this as if he was doing an episode of television. When you do an episode of television, you're sort of part of a bigger machine, and you do your part and you leave other people do their part. Right. And he's coming back and doing another episode, so he's doing his part. So he doesn't think Rian Johnson ruined his films and went into different directions that he didn't want him to go to. He was just like, okay, this is where he did, so what can I work with now and do after that? And that's totally what I get in my vision. But so many people are saying, oh, they're just fighting against each other and they're going to undo the things. And I totally don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think he's going to just pretend that all the stuff in Last Jedi didn't happen or find some way to retcon it. I think he's going to... I have more faith in him, that because he's used to television and stuff, that he's just going to find a natural way to progress, but lead it back to sort of his vision. Yeah.
No. He's even said on the record that he thinks that Rian Johnson did some amazing stuff, and he wished that he had the courage to take some of the risks that he had. So I think maybe, he'll balance those things out. But no, you're not going to undo what has happened in the past. I mean, they would never do that. It's just again, from an audience standpoint, we feel that there was, or give an impression that there was a certain planned trajectory, and when we find out that didn't exist, then we're like, what? So,
all right. So, on the chat, Gabriel McKnight says Revenge of the Sith is its third best Star Wars movie. I think I actually agree with that.
So sad. And this is where the hero gives up her birthright and runs into the woods.
Who the hell are the Knights of Ren? Asked Gabriel McKnight.
Nobody knows who the Knights of Ren are.
And that's the problem. They should have explained it. Yes, this is your classic Hitler speech, World
Yeah.
War II imagery. They're very blatant, but I will say this is a billion times better than what they did with Daenerys in Game of Thrones. That Hitler speech angers me. It was so. It was just so bad. I can't even.
Well, I mean, it fits more appropriately.
Yes, this makes
The
more sense.
Empire,
Yeah,
or New Order,
New
whatever.
Order, whatever. Same
Empire
difference.
Part 2.
Yeah, and I wish they were more developed. I think, and you have to read some fucking novel, which is bullshit. They needed to develop them in the movie, whereas what's it called? The New Order just comes off as Empire Part 2,
Right.
which is not very. You needed more development.
No, I mean, and you can give that level of basic information in Star Wars because it's a new world. Now there's already been a world, a whole established pace of events.
And this thing is totally different than the Death Star because it can destroy 3 planets at the same time.
By the way, all those people should be dead right now. That energy blast coming out so close to them. They should all be dead. But
Darrin, you're forgetting about the technobabble bullshit, inertial dampeners or whatever that keeps them safe. Totally forgetting about that there.
Sure. So this is a trans-warp gun device that can shoot between planets, but you can still see them happen in real time from any distance away. This is when they can just go a little kind of too far. It's visually beautiful.
Wait, how many planets did they destroy at once?
They take out like 5.
5. Yeah. That's dumb. To me, that's just them trying to say, ooh, this is bigger and better because we're doing just what the Death Star did, but on a bigger scale. And that's actually a bad trope that a lot of sequels in the recent years fall into.
Yeah.
They think bigger is better, which is not necessarily the case.
And how can they see this in real time?
Yeah. Can these Disney people come up with something original?
But that's what I'm talking about when I say that they lose their sense of scale, of distance in this. And I think it really undercuts. One of the cool thing is how far it takes to go from one place to another. You know, your time crunches and things like that. Here, everything is like instantly accessible.
No, this scene is cool. I mean,
yeah.
This is pretty suspenseful. The New Order showing up. Oh, that's a really cool shot.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And if you're out of sync with me, I'm talking about the TIE fighters flying.
Did she just put that back? Didn't she just have that from Rey? Why did she put that back in the chest to go give it to? Sorry.
I don't know. Oh no, didn't Rey give it back to her? I thought that's what happened. Rey says, "I don't want it," and gave it back to her.
I lost my earpiece. Just a moment.
Colonel Doomsday says it's the spore drive, Darrin.
Just spore drive. Well, you see, I wasn't thinking it through.
Yeah.
And your building that's been here for centuries is now gone by.
Rey left it in the chest. Yeah, that's what I thought. Or something like that. See, I like that. That's a good character beat for Rey, that she wouldn't know to turn the safety off on the blaster because she's not used to firing one.
Right.
Like moments like that, I think, do sell her character, and that they're kind of new at this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Rey does have an arc with all of these abilities. Everything that sort of develops there, even if it's a shortened arc, it exists. And I think that's something that she does really well.
Rey, real name is Mary Sue. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. I don't really see her as a Mary Sue, but I can understand why some people may, because her character is underdeveloped.
Sure. But again, I also disagree about that. That's what I'm saying. I think there is arcs within her development.
Yeah, it could be better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is something a lot of other people have questioned. How can he use a lightsaber?
I don't mind that.
Well, no, because he's a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he was trained in all sorts of various weapons. We've got one that has the blaster thing that he's going to fight in just a minute. I think it's just a variation on that.
See, that's cool.
Like a knife. I know. We've never seen something like that.
And I think it's cool that stormtroopers would have shit like that to fight the lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
And this battle here is pretty cool. And of course, it shows that Finn's not that great with it because he's never used one before. So he's not doing so well.
Well, and I think that's when choreography is done really well.
Ooh.
When it is able to tell a story like that, to show that this is an untrained person versus a trained person. I don't think they always do well with this, but I think that worked really nicely.
Oh, yeah, as he calls him big deal. Colonel Doomsday, I just think Rey's underdeveloped. Yeah, I agree. Gabriel Knight, she has no chemistry or anything likable about her. She's like a 2-day-old turkey. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that's a bit too harsh, but, you know.
Well, and
I can
that's what I'm saying. Having a 9-year-old daughter watch this movie and see that character and what she sees in her, you know, I see her Rey through entirely different eyes.
Oh, that's a cool shot with the what do they call X-wings?
With the X-wings. No. That's a great introduction right there.
Yeah. This is like a classic Star Wars fight. Moments like these is why I would say this is better than the prequels. Because the prequels didn't really have these classic where it invokes the feeling of the original trilogy, whereas other parts of this movie copy the original trilogy too much, where this kind of just evokes the feeling of it, which is what I think they should have won for more in this film.
I completely agree. It really invokes that feeling. Like I said, it really captures that Star Wars feel. And I love this shot of Poe's X-wing just mowing through these different fighters and shooting the ground and taking out another fighter. I think that really establishes him as a pilot right there. Because we don't get to see cool things like that all that much.
John Williams can make anything feel Star Wars. Yeah, probably. I think I might agree with that.
China Chicken, John Williams can make anything feel Star Wars. Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
I didn't realize Rey fought with Kylo Ren this early in the film. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, because he does that Force knockout thing on her.
Oh, right. See, this is really good at developing how scary he is to her and how powerless she is in the face of him.
And this is something totally new. What the heck?
Yeah.
See, this is the face. This is the face. What Daisy Ridley does really well in this. Again, my opinion for those people that think different. I think the chemistry between her and Adam Driver is freaking awesome.
That was my favorite thing about The Last Jedi, which of course I'll get into next week. But yeah,
I mean, and that's a terrifying shot.
That's a really good
lightsaber over the shoulder.
Absolutely. Kylo Ren knows something. I think he's just figuring out that she's Force sensitive here in this scene.
And knockout.
I'm not going to pay to see this movie. Disney's not getting my money. Well, your decision.
Yeah, sadly, Disney gets all of my money.
Yeah. I mean, I got a subscription for Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian, so I'm seeing this for free.
Yeah.
I'm already paying for it.
Sorry, I admit when I'm beaten. But Peacock, forget you. You're not getting a dime.
I'm not subscribing to Apple. Or is it Apple?
Apple, yeah. No, why?
Why? There's too many streaming services. You have not given me any reason why I should pick yours. Oh yeah, that's right. She gets captured by James Bond. Daniel Craig. Leia.
Very excited. I'm glad they shifted up her look for C-3PO, of course. For Last Jedi. I thought she looked so severe here. Everything felt so very tightened.
Yeah, good old C-3PO.
Yeah. How are you having a conversation with BB-8? You just met that droid. He's not talking about your arm.
And C-3PO speaks. How many languages he speaks?
6,000 forms of communication. Or no, 6 million forms of communication.
Is it 6 million?
6 million, yeah. Sorry. Jason Solo. No, different character. Sorry.
Who's Jason Solo?
From the books, that was one of the one of the Jedi twins who actually ends up turning evil down the road.
All the books that were erased from canon when these movies came out.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of them, so I wasn't too sad about that.
Yeah, that's good. That means you didn't waste that time.
Yeah.
Actually, I really enjoyed most of those books. It was sad they didn't make them canon.
I don't know. I tried reading a couple. I just couldn't. They couldn't hook me.
The Thrawn trilogy is really good.
Is that the
Heir to the Empire?
Yeah, that's the one I tried to read and I didn't find very interesting. But maybe I would have if I just stuck with it. But now it's pointless because it's erased from history.
I like this chemistry between Poe and Finn here.
I don't know about a lot of people insinuating that they're sort of in love with each other, have a thing going.
It's a brave new world, man. I'm not saying no, but I don't think it has to be. I think that's it. I think there's always that urge to throw some romantic label on any interaction. Yeah. I don't think that's necessary.
Oh, it's got the J.J. Abrams' friend who's in all the
He's
stuff
in everything. I know.
Was he in? He was in Lost. He was in Heroes. He was in The Alias.
Mm-hmm.
And he even had an appearance in Mission Impossible 3, I think.
Yeah, he's in Castle Rock season 2 right now. Not
is he?
Vehicle, but yeah, he's in there.
All right. Yeah, I don't watch that show.
Now, isn't this that Star Trek nurse there?
Is it?
No.
What Star Trek nurse?
It's, not Barrett. For some reason, I thought that she reminds me of Majel Barrett.
Oh no, Majel Barrett passed away before this came out. Yeah.
But whenever I see her, that's always the face that kind of comes into my mind. And China Chicken, yes, we're having a good time watching this with you as well. Really, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us with this and listening to some nerd rant while we watch a Star Wars movie. I mean, let's be honest. We're on the internet talking and watching a Star Wars movie together. This is like the epitome of nerddom right here.
Absolutely. Although I wouldn't really call what we're doing ranting, because some people would rant a lot worse than what we're
Oh, no.
There's R2-D2. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a husk for most of the film.
He's kind of a one of the issues with this film. That will come later on when he wakes up for no good damn goddamn reason.
Just to Ex Machina the ending. Yeah.
Yeah. The nerd rant will be next week, Darren.
Yes.
I actually won't. If you're expecting a rant for The Last Jedi, you'll be disappointed. Me and my brother are pretty positive on that film too.
I thought Acton was a little more negative on that, but
no, I don't think so. I think he might even be more positive on me, but I'll find out next week. Because at first, I loved The Last Jedi, and I thought it was one of the best Star Wars films ever. But I've later since noticed a lot of these flaws people are pointing out. But I'm still overall positive on it. I still don't trash it the way a lot of people do, and I still disagree with a lot of points the haters make.
No, there's a lot of great stuff in that. To me, it's just two films going on at the same time.
Oh, yes, I will need a mod next week. Definitely, Colonel Doomsday. And do you like Episode 8 better than 7? China Chicken asks. And I would say yes. What about you, Darren?
I'm kind of split. I think that there's a better Star Wars feel to Force Awakens, but there are some amazing character work and amazing shots in The Last Jedi that I really, really like. So I'm kind of split, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, I like Last Jedi as... No, you like The Last Jedi? Wow, yeah, I seriously do. If you obviously aren't familiar with my other videos, because I've mentioned this before on my channel. But I like The Last Jedi a lot as a film, but as a Star Wars film, maybe not as much.
Wait, here we go. It's perfect hair under the helmet.
This isn't the first time we're seeing his face, right?
No, this is it. This is the first reveal that we've seen.
Oh, right.
And this is that's the one thing that got me, because I was just like, there's no way your hair looks like that. That's like soft, man.
You should have helmet hair, yeah.
Well, then just look in that little piece. You should be able to track him down. There can't be too many star systems in a single sector.
I know, that's what a lot of people say, but I've heard people fight back against it, saying that that missing piece of the map actually represents a vast amount of space. And they're saying the space is really vast and it would take them decades to search it all.
Sure.
That's what I've heard.
And I would go with that. I just laugh the way that they like the puzzle it, like at the end, like puzzle piece. Oh, right, there you go. Like, God, you knew mostly where he was.
I mean, I heard that recently, though. Oh, why didn't it just looking at one piece? But I've heard, and I don't know if this is true or not. This could just be a fanboy excuse, but it works for me, that missing piece is like because space is vast, to be fair.
Yeah.
And so that could represent a huge amount of space. It could take decades to search.
For sure, for sure. All right. See, to me, there's some really great stuff going on in Daisy Ridley's face right here.
I'm just laughing because China Chicken says I preferred him with the helmet on.
Yeah.
You don't like the Adam Driver?
But
I'm not.
Anyway, but I'm saying, but I think within this, you see the arc from being attacked to starting to resist in a great reverse shot with Adam Driver to almost starting to push back. It's like starting to feel the force really flowing through her and what that feels. I think this is a really big scene that's not focused on enough, because I think this is where she actually discovers herself. Like, oh my God, I can understand through this. Ah.
Yeah, see, they do need to explain why she's so damn strong. I mean, it can't just be a random occurrence. I mean, I do kind of like that it's not like a hierarchy, like she's the daughter of Obi-Wan or some shit like that, because that would sort of imply that it's like this is like royalty where you have to be in that family. If you're not in that family, you're a peasant, you're screwed. But they need to, even if she has nothing to do with any of that, they need to explain. It can't just be a random occurrence.
Well, yeah, and that's normally something we would have expected that would have been explored in the second film that really wasn't. And I think that they kind of have to now when episode 9 comes out, because is she strong because there's been this imbalance in the Force? You've just had these evil forces. You find out Luke Skywalker's cut himself off, and the good side needs a manifestation. Maybe, but it needs to be explained and not just us to sort of mentally figure out.
Oh, this is the scene with Daniel Craig. See, I had no... You couldn't tell that's Daniel Craig in that fucking suit. I just had to learn about it later.
And it's not like she does this once and he obeys. This goes back and forth for a little bit. Like, again, trying to figure out this Force thing that she's only heard about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a bit iffy on it. I'm not like totally against it, but I can kind of understand why people are a bit upset at how easily she uses the Force. I think they could have done a better job with it.
Sure. I mean, I agree, but I'm saying I think that there are arcs here, and I think part of the problem is because they don't have that sense of time, of scale. Everything seems so much faster than maybe it really is. Again, just rewatching, to me, I saw a lot more of play with these concepts. It's like, God, I've heard these stories, and now it's in me. Can I do these things?
I mean, I like that. I love that scene where she uses the Jedi mind trick from a nostalgia perspective. Like, it's like, oh, it's so awesome to see that again. But when I think about it, that initial reaction of, oh, this is awesome, I think about, does it really make sense in the context of the movie that she would be able to do that? And it kind of loses a bit.
Yeah. Sorry, just that moment before when he's turning up the room and those two stormtroopers walk up and they're like, all right, turn around and walk away. I love that bit.
That is funny. And that's another thing. I actually, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I honestly think that the humor in this movie and The Last Jedi is better than the humor in the original series, the original trilogy.
Oh, it's tighter, it's quippier for sure.
Yeah, and I think it fits more and it feels more natural, especially the prequels. I'm sorry, but the humor in the prequels was awful, awful.
Look, Lucas is an astounding visionary, not a good director.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, we're not going to talk about the prequels, but he did have way too much power, and people were too afraid to say no to him.
Yeah.
That's very obvious.
I love this is the one where they go, it's not just another Death Star. It's a bigger Death Star.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that really bothers me. That does bring the whole movie down for me. This whole Star Killer race. Oh, and there's
Ken Leung.
Yeah, what's his name? Character name from Lost?
Miles.
Miles. Yeah, Miles Strom. There's Miles Strom.
That's a trap.
And I also agree that killing Admiral Akbar, again, I'm talking about Last Jedi, I should stop doing that, but they shouldn't kill Admiral Akbar off screen. That is a bit annoying.
Oh, no, that was just disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, don't even mention him. I'd rather they just not mention him at all than kill him off screen. But.
Oh, that one guy you guys all love? Yeah, he just died. Is that supposed to be Nien Nub from...
No, I think it's just some dude of the same race.
Okay. Yeah, I know that character name.
Yeah. I recognize it, but I wouldn't have been able to call it myself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, spoilers. Sorry, anyone who hasn't seen The Last Jedi yet. Sorry, I'm spoiling it for you. But it's not important. It's actually just a throwaway line, so it's not really spoiling anything.
You'll never see each other again. Sorry.
You're spoiling again, Darrin.
You've all seen this movie. Nobody watches the commentary first.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, what's wrong with you? Why you should watch the movie first? Jeez.
Don't trust us to carry it through this. We'll be talking about like Subway sandwiches in 20 minutes or something. Is this what doomed Han Solo? Because she asked him to bring her son home? Or is it really just because Harrison Ford desperately wanted to be out of this series?
That's the second one there.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, you're just joking. All right. I hope the Falcon has good shock absorbers.
Yeah, because it does a pretty serious impact. I don't know what these ships are made of, but they're definitely thicker than the Reynolds wrap our current spaceships are made of.
Right. So I just had a thought. That scene we get with Rey escaping from the Empire thingy is really reminiscent of like Luke and the others escaping from the Death Star in A New Hope, but it's a lot shorter and more succinct and less developed. And I think that is the main issue I have with a lot of these callbacks or these retreading the same plots this film does, is that not only does it retread the same things, but it does it in a much quicker, less developed way.
Right.
And I'd rather they just do something original. That's why I like The Last Jedi better, because it doesn't always succeed and it has its flaws and issues, but at least it tries to do something new instead of just retreading the same things that the other films did.
By the way, you wouldn't want to pull the lever to time that. You would definitely want that done by computer to jump out of light speed if you're trying to go through the shield of a ship but not slam into the I'm just saying. Did
they do it manually? They did it manually.
Like, and go.
Yeah, that's fake. They would have died. Like a computer has to calculate something like that.
And get smashed. You were the janitor?
I'm waiting for
He's a hero. That's Han's hero speech.
That's not how the Force works.
That is a great line.
That is a classic line. I always use that a lot for everything. Like, that's not how that works. And Hux is a really throwaway character. I don't give a shit about him. I think he's more throwaway than the Chrome Trooper, personally.
Well, he's kind of like Phasma. He's just, he's filling in like, villain role number 3.
Exactly. Well, Phasma is supposed to be more of the badass, where he's the swarmy, spineless one.
Sure.
I do like this Finn stuff here.
Yeah.
I'm in charge now. I think that, like, sometimes they go over the top with this character, but I think was it this film I think it was this film where he uses some modern slang, and I'm just like, all right. He shouldn't be using
yeah, I think he might. I don't remember that specifically. I'm sure we'll pick it out if we're not talking too much when that happens. Quick, and random direction.
No, I think it already happened. I think we already talked over it.
Okay.
Cardinal
Doomsday trash compactor. Yeah. This is what we were expecting Ben Kenobi to do when he went around that little thing where he lowered the shield handle. Is now Rey's going down underneath and doing it vertically. It's the rock climbing version of Ben Kenobi right here.
This film has a much bigger budget than the New Hope did.
Yeah.
Use your scavenger abilities.
Well, it does give a great callback where she would know where some of these things are because she's been in the inside of a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Are they on Starkiller Base at the moment?
They are.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's not the same layout, but I'm assuming similar technology bits. Look, man, don't poke holes in my supposed logic here.
Yeah, Poe's kind of a throwaway character too. I thought he was never developed very well, especially in this film. I actually think The Last Jedi does a better job of developing. Here, he's just your generic pilot.
Yeah,
like that's it.
Well, and I mean, you've got to focus on certain character developments. And that's going to take time, and it's got to be the Poe. I mean, it's got to be the Rey, Finn, Han Solo.
Well, I think that's a problem with this film in a nutshell, is that it tries to do too much. And so some things it works and other things just don't come off as well. And that's why I think it falls short of the original trilogy, because I think the original trilogy got that formula just right, where it didn't try to do too much and it developed everything to the extent it needed to be developed. Where
it was lightning in a bottle, but it was also one of those I think I heard something Carrie Fisher saying that it was the most expensive low-budget film ever made.
Yeah. Well, the first one. I'm talking about the whole trilogy.
Yeah. No, but I'm just talking about the first one, as it's kind of the lightning in the bottle that was able to capture of doing unique things that we haven't seen before and forced to keep the story tight because they didn't have a budget to play around.
But the sequels did it as well, arguably. Well, I would argue they did. The Empire and Return of the Jedi. I think they also were very succinct with their
story. But I think that's where it benefited from having other directors and so on, taking that idea and then just building on that base storyline that they had.
Yeah.
Which was still really focused on like 3 primary characters.
I mean, I think the problem with these newer films is probably the committee. Like the whole modern movies are done by committee and the execs have way too much say and they get in the way.
We have to make everyone happy.
I think Abrams, for the most part, is not. I don't know. I think he's someone who follows the committee too much. Like he doesn't have as much as an independent vision as most directors do.
And Rey finally had someone come back for her. I think that's what really finished the bonding character-wise between Rey and Finn, is he was the first person to come back to her that said that he would. See, these are some cool shots. And I guess this is also, like I say, we see the heroic arc really complete for Han Solo, because before it was all about himself, and all he's been talking about here is people are counting on us.
Yeah. I thought I saw that guy from Mr. Robot.
Rami Malek?
No, season 3. God, I can't remember his name.
Entirely possible.
What's it? The dude from season 3 who wasn't in season 4, who was writing a book. He worked for the Dark Army.
Oh, Irving.
Yeah.
John. Casa
I can't remember.
Carnival, Bobby Carnival.
But yeah, I don't think it was him. I thought I saw him, but it probably wasn't him.
Yes, Cardinal Doomsday Irving. Yeah.
Irving, yeah, that's the one.
Colonel Doomsday, if a camel is a horse designed by committee, what does that make modern movies?
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know. I have to find an analogy. A holodeck simulation? No. No. What would it be? A Hallmark special? No. That's. I have to think about that. Well, helmet's back on.
I mean, to be honest, I think this parts are kind of boring. I kind of blank them from my memory because they're not very memorable.
This is the death of Han. Well, the
just
before the death of Han Solo. Sorry,
like,
spoiling again.
Spoiling, but I remember the death of Han Solo. I just don't remember how they got there because it's kind of forgettable. It's kind of just they're running around, music playing, and it's not much going on. I think it's dragging a bit, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because it's a bunch of climbing around and stuff. Yeah. It's not really being chased, and we don't get a lot of the intercut of the outer action.
So I'm talking too much. I lost track of the plot. So is Starkiller Base about to destroy the rebel base that Leia and all them are on?
Yes, they are charging the guns because everything takes an amount of time necessary for the plot to develop.
That is just like A New Hope. That is just like A New Hope.
The Death Star will be arranged in 15 minutes.
That frustrates me. Now this. I mean, you could say this is like Darth Vader killing Obi-Wan, but I do think it's totally different. But
no, this Harrison Ford really does some amazing acting work right here. It's like for a moment he really cared about what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. For a moment.
Yeah, and I think this is a really powerful scene between him and Adam Driver.
But I do see how the overall thing of the mentor character getting killed by the villain is like Obi-Wan getting killed by Darth Vader in the first film.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the way they execute it is totally different. But still, I'll give him partial credit for that. I do like this relationship and the way they develop Ren's character.
Mm-hmm. We get all quiet as we're sucked into this moment.
I mean, was anyone surprised that they killed Han Solo? I know some people were. I certainly wasn't. Because I think it's obvious that Han's going to fail.
Yeah.
I didn't see him Kylo Ren being like, okay, let me go home and love you. And I just didn't see that happen.
Well, I'm trying to remember if there were hints beforehand that this was Harrison Ford's last bit, or he came on for one thing or something. But so long I don't remember.
I mean, I didn't know anything about that. I could just tell just from the scene.
Yeah.
Oh, Colonel Doomsday was shocked. Okay, fair enough. I was thinking, where's Luke? Because I just don't see how Kylo Ren would actually go back to Han. Like, of course he's going to kill him because he's evil now.
Well, and that's got to be his arc. We got to have the villain. He can't turn now, not at the beginning of the trilogy. That's at the end of the trilogy, when he has some sort of redemption arc. But which I don't think they're going to do with.
No, I think they're going to go a different way. I would be disappointed if he had no redemption arc. To be honest,
I agree. I think he's more interesting where they're taking him.
I mean, I do think that I buy this for Han Solo's character, that he would be so. He would be fooled.
From a parent-child standpoint, you're going to do whatever you can, and I'm sure he's seeing the failures of his own life.
They did do a really great job with this scene. Like, I gotta say, that was a really emotional way to kill them all.
Oh yeah,
having Chewie scream like that and Rey crying, like
it just
really.
The holding of the face, and he just reaches up and cups his head. I mean, really, that's such a parental move.
Yeah.
And they tumble into the abyss, as all Star Wars characters must die.
Very, very evocative of Star Wars. Very evokes it, I mean. Ben and Han didn't have a good relationship. No, they did not.
No, they did not.
Oh, and I like this that Leia can sense it. That's a nice touch.
And Chewie just unloading. That's the best. That's what you would do. Chewie goes for the revenge.
And there was rightfully so a lot of pushback, and the scene we get later on. And a lot of people use that scene as an excuse to show Rey's a Mary Sue or whatever, when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren in a lightsaber battle and she holds her own. Mm-hmm. But what people forget is Kylo Ren was shot by Chewie's fucking crossbow. And it's actually amazing he's able to stand, let alone fight, after being shot with that crossbow. So I completely buy. In fact, if anything, Rey should have kicked his ass.
China Chicken Kylo should have stopped that blaster bolt. Yeah,
he didn't see it coming.
He was relishing in his moment.
Yeah, he didn't see it coming. He didn't know Chewie was there, in fact, I think.
And you got to give Chewie that moment to have his bitter revenge.
Is there a redemption arc after Parasite? Well, I mean, Darth Vader killed a bunch of children. He got a redemption arc.
Very true. They're younglings.
So, and even Adam Driver is playing it like he's severely injured. Like you can tell. Like he's bleeding everywhere. So they have him at an advantage. Even though he's his master, he's much more trained in the lightsaber and the Force, but he's injured as shit. So.
I mean, there's an interesting question. How much more as a lightsaber is he trained? I mean,
I think he is. He was trained by Luke Skywalker. And Fenn had never held a lightsaber in his life before, like a couple days ago.
Sure. Though, I actually think that Kylo is playing with him to a certain extent here. I think there's... Well,
I think look at him. He's going full force. I think it looks like.
Well, yeah, but he's not trying to kill him at any point. He has several points where he could. I think he's taking that position of control.
I can see that
owns Finn in this fight.
But I also think his injury plays a huge part.
Oh, for sure.
He's in a lot of pain. Yeah, you can tell, like, the actor plays that well, that he's in pain. And that's why Finn gets to strike a hit on him there. But he still gets the better of Finn.
Right.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, is that Finn, like, is in a coma at the start of the next movie, right? From that, what Kylo Ren just did.
No, they carry that right on. That's why he's in the back to tank for the whole thing. They kind of like they did with Luke post.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah, that is really nice.
I think that works, and I buy it for a character. I don't think it's too Mary Sue-ish or whatever you want to say.
No, because I think she has played with her elements of the Force throughout. There has been a step in progression.
Yeah.
And yeah, in other circumstances, Kylo might have been able to beat her, but he's a little beaten down. I don't think he expects this ferocity from her. And
Absolutely.
you're right. He's been shot.
China Chicken points out a crossbow bolt takes a huge toll. Absolutely. I think a lot of people forgot that.
And yeah, the music, I mean, just that's John Williams doing his John Williams best right there.
See, I don't care about any of this. This is just, another X-Wing fighting the thing. This is just a replay of A New Hope. Yet less interesting because I don't care about
You think they're actually going to put like a trench in here? He has to go. Oh, there it is. Never mind.
Originality, come on. It's not too hard.
Again, we have said that is one of the limitations of this film, but there is a lot that they do right.
True. I do think what they do right does outweigh what they do wrong, even though I like to complain about it because it does bother me. But I do think what they do right does outweigh.
And you're right. In many ways, it is overly safe. There is a lot of repeated beats throughout the film. Does that familiarity feel home-like, or does it feel, copycat? I think that's maybe where a lot of fandom sort of splits on that as well.
But it does work for a lot of people, to be fair. There were a lot of critics that, when they first saw this movie, were blown away. This is the best thing ever! Oh my God, it's so good! And so it worked. But, I don't know. I think if you analyze it, you see that it is relying too heavily on that.
Come on, the newest thing is always the best thing ever.
Yeah. Or the worst thing, depending on your opinion.
Cardinal Doomsday, a sarcasm meter, that would be really useful.
See, I like this scene. Like, I was thinking about rating all of the lightsaber battles in every movie, and this one would probably rank pretty highly.
Well, there again, there's a desperation, there's a running combat, there's a different style to it that I think is really interesting.
See, a lot of the people hype up the lightsaber battle in Phantom Menace between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and what's his face? Liam Neeson.
Yeah, Qui-Gon.
And I don't like it that much. I think it's too choreographed, and it doesn't have the emotional impact that, say, this one does, or the ones in the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. And here you go. She's not trying to kill her. I think that might be another thing in this.
Yeah, but I think he's resigned that he may have to, though.
Let go. Feel the Force flow through you.
Yes, China Chicken, the visuals are amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like I was saying at the top of this video, this probably has, the newer films do have some of the best visuals because they have the benefit of being modern. And they do it well. Like, the prequels didn't even do it well for the time they came out in, I think. Whereas these films actually do a better job at it.
Well, that was the mistake. One of the great things, the original Star Wars, is their use of practicals to give a really amazing effects looks.
Yes.
They did the opposite with the prequels. They leaned too much into the effects, which made them completely impractical looking.
Colonel Doom says the Phantom Ballet. Boring. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be on the record saying I think The Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars movie ever. I think it's worse than Attack of the Clones. It's
I was going to say,
than
worse than Attack of the Clones?
Yeah. The Attack of the Clones barely had Jar Jar Binks in it. Therefore, Phantom Menace is worse. Absolutely. Automatically.
Well, I think the Duel of the Fates fights was better than most anything in...
I didn't mind. I think the arena battle was just as good as the Duel of the Fates because I didn't think much of the Duel of the Fates, to be honest. Except for the music. The music was good.
The music was awesome, yeah.
But the actual fight, it was just a choreographed ballet, as Colonel Doomsday puts it. There wasn't any real stakes behind it. Attack of the Clowns. And Hey, Music Aviator. Good to see you. Musical Aviator.
Now, unlike the Death Star, when this thing is blown up, it takes 5 to 20 minutes for it to explode, just long enough to escape.
Did we talk over Rey beating Kylo Ren?
We did.
Oh, well.
We were talking about that it was a great fight.
Yeah.
But it is one of those where, I mean, I was laughing with the whole feel the Force Luke moment, but that is where she turns that fight around, where, again, I think that's part of her arc of opening up to the Force.
I think it works because of the emotional impact behind it.
No, yeah, for sure. No, it's the chemistry between Rey and Ren. Sorry about that. Really sells most of their interactions, especially in Next Jedi, or Last Jedi. But
yeah, the treadmill sequence was awful. I'll agree with that, Colonel Doomsday, but I'll name you 3 more in the Phantom Menace as it was just as bad or worse. The death of the Death Star. I mean, Starkiller Base, whatever the hell it's called.
So does this turn into another sun then now? Is that what happens?
I don't know. See, I don't know. But here's the thing, and a lot of people would disagree with me on this, especially my brother, but I wonder now if I watched A New Hope for the first time and say I'd never heard of Star Wars or anything, I just watched it as an adult, would I like it as much as I did with a kid? And the answer I keep coming up with is no. Is a lot of it has to do with nostalgia, the time it came out.
Sure. And this is a scene Abrams himself has admitted he made a mistake with.
Oh, so many people complain about it.
Leia walking past Chewie there and going and hugging Rey, who she has never met.
Instead of Chewie. Yeah.
And yeah, I can't disagree with that. I can say, well, they can feel the connection, the Force that they both connected with Han. No. She should have given Chewie a big hug, and then anything else with Rey afterwards.
And I like that he admitted that. I like that he even said, yeah, that was a mistake. Too often, it pisses me off when writers make obvious mistakes. Dan and Dave, excuse me, and they won't admit it. They just will not admit the mistakes that they made. I like it when the writer has the balls to admit it.
Hey, and look who woke up just in time for the rest of the map to arrive. It's R2.
The first Star Wars came out before I was born, Colonel Doomsday. Before you were born.
Let's see, I was 5, so probably saw it in. Pretty sure I saw that and Empire both in drive-ins.
Oh, really?
Pile everybody into the back of the car. Go in, you pay one price.
Yeah, it wasn't called A New Hope. I know it was just called Star Wars.
Yeah.
But when you have all these other Star Wars, you need to differentiate it. That's something like J.J. Abrams calling his film Star Trek, which is bullshit because how is that different? You can't differentiate it. That's why I have to call 2009 in order to differentiate it. So.
And here's the puzzle piece.
I mean, that looks like a pretty huge sector, especially if that whole map is the galaxy and that tiny little thing is the mist. That's a huge sector. I can see that taking like years, decades to explore.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I know it's a tangent.
There we go, and this is very reminiscent of End of Empire, when, of course, Han's and Carbonate and gone, and they got to go and rescue, and now he's knocked out, and she's got to go and find Luke.
All right, now, I got to talk about Luke Skywalker a bit, because we're almost to that point. When I first saw the film, I went and saw, as I said, I saw it in this huge theater, and there was a giant poster, like life-size. It was huge. And right by my head, there was words bigger than my head that said Mark Hamill on the poster for this film. And then a lot of people, when Luke only shows up for the last 2 minutes of the film, a lot of people were like, oh, why complain about that? He wasn't in the trailers. You know he's not going to be in the film. You know he's not going to be he wasn't in any of the marketing. And I say, bullshit, you're wrong. His name is the third name on the fucking poster.
Well, and we got everyone back for the Force Awakens, for the sequel.
And I think some of the posters even had his image on it. So don't fucking, because the marketing was the only reason I expected. If the marketing actually was fair and didn't show him at all, then I wouldn't be expecting him, and I wouldn't care that he only showed up in the 2 minutes. It's the marketing that got my expectations up and got me disappointed. That's the reason. Yes, false advertising, absolutely. So some of these critics are like, oh, you're ridiculous for expecting him to be. No, it's the marketing's fault. It's not my fault. I totally wouldn't expect him to be if it wasn't.
And that's where I think a lot of the issues, even with the promises of where characters are going to go, is through the movie, you tell us that certain things are important. So later on, if you say, no, they're not important, don't be upset that I'm upset. You told me that it was important.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is all cool, and I think she even talks about this in her dream, or Kylo does when he's looking into her mind. I can see it, the island in the middle of the ocean. So it's they did sort of drop a little hint about this earlier in the film, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But see, that's when those hints pay off by the end of the film. You don't just leave them with us and hope somebody else picks up that string. Okay, television. That's not how you make a movie, man.
Well, that is the biggest flaw of this newer trilogy, I think, is the fact, and especially the original plan was that each film would be done by a different director, and they pretty much gave that director free reign to do what they wanted, which is, I mean, there were some guidelines, very vague, that they kept them to, but the most part, like Rian Johnson's vision is completely different from J.J. Abrams. And that's a huge mistake. No matter how good or bad you think The Last Jedi is, or how good or bad you think this is, they should have just kept a uniform vision throughout the trilogy.
You got to have a single showrunner for the whole series.
Absolutely. And it's obvious that Kathleen Kennedy wasn't putting enough emphasis on the creative plot or story, and that she was leaving that to the directors. And in that case, I actually think it's a bad thing. I think you need one voice, whoever that is, to guide the whole trilogy, to guide your whole show.
I agree.
And so maybe in that way, it's almost a good thing that Abrams is coming back to do the final chapter. I think he should have done all three. Even though I don't have a very high opinion of him, and I'm sure he wouldn't be able to do that good of a job, at least it would be a uniform vision.
This is an amazing way to end, though. I mean, we get our final shot of Luke. We get Rey pulling out the lightsaber, this desperate look on her face. Please take this. Join the fight. And I think it was good that they left it at this moment. I mean, that's great response of weighted responsibility right there.
See, I can't help but be pissed off, especially when I saw this in the theater, because of the advertising. If it wasn't for the advertising, I think I'd agree with you, Darrin. This is a great moment. But the advertising promised me Mark Hamill would be top billing in this film. And he appears in all of 2 minutes. It's just, you have to fit. The marketing makes a difference.
Sure.
Because a lot of people know in other movies, if the trailer gives away too much, it will ruin the movie for you.
Yeah, what's China Chicken here? All I wanted was one word from Luke. Just one word. And yeah, I mean, and I cannot disagree with that at all. There was something when they were promised everybody is back. It's talking all about Luke, and you only see him for the end. It's kind of like that. Well, again, that and I've mentioned this on quite a few comparisons, the end of Empire, where it's like, okay, Han Solo is gone, and he's standing there, and he's looking out, and then the movie ends. And I'm like, no, you gotta get, you're gone, and the thing, you can't, no.
But I don't know. You know how I feel, Darrin. I think the ending of Empire was great. I think it works as classic, whereas this is not so good. Like, it's not terrible. There are definitely worse cliffhangers out there, but I definitely don't think it works anywhere near as good as Empire.
I'm saying at 8 years old, that was very painful. But yes,
I mean, I had the benefit of when I first saw Empire, Return of the Jedi was already out. In fact, I've probably already seen Return of the Jedi.
sure. You
But
watched straight when you were a kid.
absolutely. On no Disney Plus, I want to watch the freaking credits. Leave me alone. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So that's it. That's our watch. So Darrin, I'm going to put you on the hot spot here.
Okay.
Give me your rating for Force Awakens out of 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Sure. I kind of feel like I got to give it a 7.
Uh-huh. See what you did there.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I would probably put it up there, between 7 and 8, maybe a 7.5. There are a lot of issues with the film, but there was that wonder, that reemergence. There was a feel to it that it did really capture, even if maybe it overly played it safe. Came out of this movie excited. Again, I'm also benefit from seeing it through younger eyes that is re-experiencing all of this and seeing a character that she can associate with, which automatically just brought me back to being a kid myself. So I will admit that laid into it. But yeah, I think, yeah, it has some flaws, but it captured the feel that we had been waiting for so long and felt that we hadn't gotten. And so, yeah, like I said, well, yeah, between a 7 and 8, maybe 7.5. Maybe I'm being conservative with that, but yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I actually think that the younger generation will definitely relate more to these newer films than the original trilogy. Because I watched The Empire Strikes Back with a 19-year-old, and she thought it was silly. She couldn't take it seriously, like these Muppets walking around. And I think us watching it as children have the benefit of taking that for granted.
Right.
And I think that's why I think the newer generation will feel the same way about these films. They won't have the hang-ups that a lot of the older audience do.
Well, and I think you did something right. What you pointed out is I think they blended their practical and visual effects. And obviously, the quality of effects have gotten so much better and there's so much more they could do. But it still felt like the trilogy. The fights between the TIE fighters and the X-Wings felt the same. There was that look. The bar felt like a new kind of place with different characters. So I think they balanced a lot of those forces really well. And if they overly played it safe just to try and get a success under their belt, okay. I mean, I can agree with that.
All right. So anyway, China Chicken in the chat says I would give it an 8 out of 10. Fair enough. You enjoyed this movie. For me, I'm actually going to give it a 7 as well. Although I don't do decimal points, so I either do 7 or 8. And I think this is firmly a 7. Like, even if I did do decimal points, I would probably still say just 7.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, 7 is a rating I give to stuff I think is good but not great. Like a 6 would be it's just good but just barely, but 7 is good, but it has some issues. And to me, I can't get over the one thing out of all the stuff like Desert and Cantina. The one thing I can't get over that drags the whole movie down for me is Starkiller Base. I just can't get over that. And that is just too much of a flaw for me.
Well, they even get the line, it's not just another Death Star. It's the size of a planet. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a bigger Death Star. It's a deathier Death Star.
And as I said before, it's the mentality of too many modern movies have that bigger is better, which is not the case. But this movie does have enough original elements, enough action scenes, and a through storyline, emotional impact where the through storyline works.
Yeah.
And it does meander too much, and as I said, it's not focused as much as the originals, which is why I say the originals would be better than this one.
Right.
But it's still a decent film.
Yeah.
I would just say it's not a masterpiece the way the original trilogy is.
I mean, you know, I got my action figure sets. Got my own Ray, who's been watching the film with us. So yeah, I thought it was a great restart. I was really looking forward to the trilogy, and I'm excited with Rise of Skywalker coming out. You know, in just like 2 weeks now.
I am cautiously optimistic. I'm actually a bit scared that I'm worried that they'll screw this up. Now, some of the very early reviews have come out, and they say that this movie is amazing and they love it, but again, I don't really trust the critics because they said the same thing about this movie when it first came out. And
right.
It's not a terrible movie, but it has its issues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just wanted to wrap it up. I think that's my only caution is there's going to be storylines that are going to be left unanswered. And honestly, I think my biggest gripe is while they're talking, you know, like this is going to be at the end of this series, they're going to be doing a whole different storyline, or they're going to be jumping back in time, forward with time. I like the characters. I'd actually be kind of bummed if we don't get to see them anymore after this film. But I mean, I understand the reality of movie making and stuff like that. But I mean, I've really enjoyed seeing these characters. I would be up for seeing more with them.
And Jesse Adar, I think the name in the chat. I'll have to fact check you on that. Actually, JJ didn't have anything to do with the finale of Lost. That was strictly Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof. JJ had completely removed himself from the show. He was just an executive producer, which means he was a money man. He had no creative decision in that finale. Just as a point of fact. So,
yeah.
Although he did endorse that finale. So
yeah, a lot of directors endorse things they possibly shouldn't have later on down the road. I think Cameron maybe learned that lesson at this point. Perhaps not. And did he back Genesis or no?
Oh yeah,
yeah, Genesis and then Dark Fate.
And then Dark Fate. I didn't even bother with. Did you bother with Dark Fate, Darren?
I haven't seen it yet. I'll see it when it comes out on video or something.
I am not going to bother. I've been burned by that franchise too much. And I've already read a bunch of spoilers, so I know what happens, and it sounds awful.
Sure.
Everyone's like, oh, but the action scenes are good, and the character actors do a good job. I don't care. The story sounds awful.
Yeah, the story there, the action is just popcorn, which is great to throw on in the background while you're cleaning the house and take a pause and watch things blow up. But you know, asking to invest 2 hours plus of your time to be tortured is not really where I'm at. But I mean, I've seen all the other. I even got through Genesis. That was painful. Sometimes I would hate myself, I think. Honestly, the one thing that Genesis did have going for it is I love that they kind of copied the beginning of the first Terminator. They did sort of a little recreation and a pretty accurate one. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. And I think that was an interesting way of kind of pulling old fans in. Unfortunately, then the story just fell apart after that. But hey.
Oh, Jesse Adair, sorry. Mispronounced your name. Always that way. Anyway, so that's the credits are ending, so we might as well go ahead and end our video here. I'm going to thank you guys so much for joining Cardinal Doomsday, Jesse. Who was China? Was it? Oh, God, I lost the name already. China Chicken.
China Chicken.
And anyone else in the chat who popped in, thank you so much for joining. And all those watching the archives, thank you guys so much for joining. And as I said, alluded to, if you're not aware, I'm going to be back next week with a different guest, my brother Abkin Tomka, and we are going to talk about The Last Jedi, and I'll have to put that link back up because I fucked that whole thing up. But anyway, Darren, thank you so much for joining us for this. It was great to talk Force Awakens with you. Yes, thanks so much.
Oh, Mark, thanks for having me. This really was a blast to dive back in. Like I say, it's the epitome of nerddom right here. I was loving every moment of it. Great to really jump back into this film. And yeah, and everyone in the chat, thank you so much for jumping in with us and throwing in your thoughts. It makes this more fun. Mark and I can talk about this stuff for hours, as the video we have video evidence to attest to. But it's always so much more fun when you guys are around. So thanks for joining the chat, Mark. Thanks for having me here. And I can't wait to see you and act and dive into Last Jedi next week.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Oh, man. There'll probably be a lot more dissenters on that one, but that's all good. But anyway, Darrin, if you want to give a quick shout out what you're up to, where people can find you.
Oh, yeah. I'm Darrin Jakes. You can catch me here on YouTube at D's Reviews. Middle of Mandalorian right now. Middle of the final season of Mr. Robot. And then probably going to take a little break until February when Walking Dead returns. And then summer, we'll have the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So fun stuff. Come check me out. And again, Mark, thanks for having me here.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks for joining. Always a blast. All right, so if you're not aware, my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. A bit behind on my schedule at the moment. I'm working on my recap of Season 3 of The Expanse to prepare for Season 4, which comes out this Friday. The day it comes out, I'm going to release my review of Episode 1. The whole season drops in one day, which kind of annoys me. I would rather they space it out. But the day it releases, I'm going to drop my review of Episode 1, and then 1 week after, I'll do each other episode, as if they were releasing it a week at a time, even though they're not. And then I'll also do my full-length review, and hopefully you can get these guys back for...
Yeah. I was just Cardinal Doomsday was asked if I did Expanse. No, I'm going to hand that to Mark, but I always love coming to do the season reviews with him, so...
Yeah, we'll have to arrange that. But I guess it depends on how quickly you guys go through the season. I know I'm gonna watch. I asked off work, so I can have that day off work. So I can just sit home, watch the whole season at once, and record my reviews. But anyway, yeah. So I have that I'm working on, and some other. I still need to do my Enterprise. Top 30 best episodes, top 15 worst. I'll get to that whenever I can, and stuff like that. So you can check out my channel for more Star Trek coverage, and next week for The Last Jedi. So again, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.